back to Hannah Gray Studios. This is my channel. I make coloring videos, I make art videos, mindfulness videos, and as well vlogs. I make a vlog every Sunday and I post an art video once every week. Yeah, so today I have a coloring video for you. I'm gonna color this cute picture of these below fish in this coloring book I just got off Amazon this week, and I will link it in my description below. But yeah, I wanted to chat doing this video, and I don't like chatting while I'm coloring, so I always put in a voiceover after. I hope that's okay. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about why making art when you're sad is actually brave and not cringe. So, I think it's there's kind of like a belief floating around that you need to be happy, you need to be healed, you need to be put together before you can firstly share your art, but secondly, before you can even create. And I actually think that's totally backwards. And for me, in my experience, my life experience, art has been a foundational piece of my healing and recovery, and it's allowed me to process some really difficult times and some really difficult emotions. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that today, and I'm just gonna kind of yap and then out. So I hope you're here, buckle in, and consider this like, we're on FaceTime, or we're like, maybe this is like a little podcast. I'm sending you a voice note, just a little tidbit while you're watching this coloring video. I hope that you find it relaxing. I hope it inspires you. But without any further ado, let's get into the topic. So first I want to talk about why making art when you're sad isn't cringe. It's actually very honest, and it's one of the most powerful ways I have come across to really check in with yourself and see how you're feeling. So there is like so much art that's created all the time while people are going through real difficult, challenging times. So that is real and that's valid, and it carries raw energy, and it's super powerful, and it's not at all embarrassing. And I think some of like my favorite songs I've ever heard, and songs that have carried me through really challenging moments in my life. Like there's this one Beyonce song on Lemonade, I forget what song it is right now, but in the song she says, "I'm gonna keep running because a winner don't quit on themselves." And I literally had that lyric written out and tacked to the ceiling of my car at the time, because at the time I was feeling really, to be completely honest, unsafe within myself, and I was very high risk, and that lyric kind of anchored me to that song, and I would just hear it on loop. But that kind of music doesn't come out of, it's not necessarily a happy lyric, it's a very powerful one, and it's one that's I'm gonna keep friggin' running because I am not gonna quit on myself, and when you're in difficult times, sometimes you can use that as your inspiration to create, and not to create anything specific necessarily, but just to put it on paper, to put it out of your own being and put it into the real world. Yeah, so it's kind of like a way to check in with yourself and have a visual of what might be mixed up all inside you. And yeah, that's really honest. I think one time when I was in the hospital, I was so mixed up, and I had my thought process at the time was very just cluttered, and I was hearing a lot of voices, and I could not make sense of them, and I felt so intense, and I just needed to get this energy out of my being and do something with it. And I was at the time very active while I was there. I was moving more often than I wasn't, to be quite honest. There's not a lot to do there, but I needed to do something with that energy. And so I remember I just grabbed a pen and a piece of lined paper, and I just started scribbling on the page. And I was sitting with some friends, and they were doing creative stuff, and I wasn't necessarily going at it as like I'm scribbling in order to create something visual, like something binary or something from the real world. I was like, no, I'm just scribbling because I need to channel this energy out of my body. And I ended up drawing like a scribbly like structure of a house, and like I wrote some lyrics in, and I still have it, I think. I don't know where it is, but I just remember after that time, like kind of really thinking like, wow, like I was feeling like I was about to boil over. And after doing that, like literally just with like a black pen scribbling on paper, felt just like a release of emotion. And it's not the first time. That was in my most recent episode, but I've had 3 episodes, and every time art in some way has been almost like a communication style for me, where because when I'm very unwell, I lose my ability to communicate coherently with words how I am doing, how I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and it's very isolating. And I also like I'm very confused because I don't know what is real and what's not. And so being able to like, I've drawn some of my delusions sometimes, not necessarily like in like how I saw it, but like how I felt it, I guess. Yeah, but anyway, so it like all that to say, if you're feeling sad or you're feeling down, or even if you're feeling angry and you feel like drawing or coloring or writing it down is cringe, okay, well, the thing is it can actually be really helpful in helping you figure out what the heck you're feeling. Because I think a lot of times too, like I worked in social services for a very long time for me, and one thing I often heard was like, sometimes people just don't know how they're feeling. And you ask someone and they're like, oh man, I don't know how I'm feeling. And you kind of need to mull it out. You just know that you're feeling something strong, or maybe it's a soft feeling, or, you know, however it may be. But something needs to happen with it. If you idle in it, often what happens is we push it down because we don't want to feel that feeling, or we find a release in other ways, whether it's like expressing it at someone, or indulging in food or shopping or whatever it may be. That energy has to go somewhere. And I just undoubtedly have learned this lesson over and over again in my life, that the best place to put it for me is on a piece of paper. And whether that's in words or images or both, or or abstract lines or shapes or blotches, is totally up to you and totally up to the moment. But I just know how profound it can be to have this as a tool in your toolbox. And that's not to say like, it's going to be convenient at every moment to, like, if you're in line somewhere, not always convenient to bust out a paper and pen wherever you are. But I think having that practice of when you are able to, and when you have a moment to yourself, or even making a moment for yourself to release that on a regular basis, I think it's really profound. And I really hope that can be helpful to you, because it's like kind of bizarre to me sometimes when people, I don't know if bizarre is the right word, but like and I find like dudes especially have a problem with this, like taking what you're thinking or feeling and expressing it outwardly on a piece of paper. It's very vulnerable, because then there's a risk that it can be seen, right? And often these things we don't want to share, we want to hide. We're told that these feelings are negative, that we shouldn't have them, blah blah blah. But you need all these feelings, and you're gonna have them, and life can't always just be positive feelings. That's only half the picture. So yeah, anyway, I'm on a tangent now. But doing art while you're sad, or while you're angry, or while you're heartbroken, or whatever state you may be in that may be negative, is not cringe. It's very honest, and I promise you it can be a tool and really teach you a lot about yourself and where you want to go also. And it can help get you there also, rather than staying stuck. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, the other thing I want to say is you don't have to wait until you're healed or in a good place to create, because I think a lot of the time we think like, oh, in order to make beautiful things, we need to be in a beautiful state, essentially. And I would say that's not true either. Going along with the last thing that, you know, it's so much more beneficial to just do it in the moment when you need it, you know. The other thing is, if you are creating some art when you're feeling kind of in a whatever mood, unpleasant mood, sometimes we feel like we can be like we're too much for, like we're too loud for the page, like what I'm experiencing. And it comes down to that vulnerability piece as well of like, okay, if I'm pouring this out of my head onto paper, there's a chance it's going to be seen. And if it's seen and it's unpleasant or it's bizarre or it's doesn't make sense, or the colors don't match, or maybe it's not beautiful according to whoever's standards, that is okay. Not all art is meant to look idealistic and look traditionally beautiful. I think there's so much art that is sometimes hard to look at, and usually it comes from those depths of places of pain and that kind of thing. And I think some of that art is like the most profound because it's real and it's honest, and it also like helps us connect to one another, you know? Like it's like when we see a piece of art that's maybe hard to look at, it's like, wow, you can kind of like interpret what the artist might have been feeling, and you'll never really know what they were feeling because everybody feels individually, but you can kind of like connect with it in that way. And that's really profound, and I think that's what the heck we're here to do, you know? Art that can make you feel is like, that's the whole point. Like, well, not the whole point, but that's why we share it, so we can connect to one another through it, you know? And so keep in mind that when you're creating, like, you're not performing. It's not meant to like entertain someone, and maybe it is entertaining, but it's an expression, and it's for you above anyone else. And yeah, just be honest with yourself and be honest with your artwork. If you're feeling like if you're feeling like I'm feeling fucking orange and like purple, and maybe those colors like you don't like together or something, and it like you draw some shapes, or like when I was posted that video the other week of the doubt monster for my art journal, like I was like, I don't freaking like how this turned out, man. Like I don't want to share this on YouTube. Like what are people gonna think of me? They're gonna think I'm not really great. I don't always feel great at art, truly, but there was a reason why I made it the way I did, and I was learning as I was going. I also learned that I probably shouldn't mix marker with freaking wax crayon, you know? But yeah, like however it turns out, it doesn't matter. It's just about getting that energy from the inside out of you. And the more you practice, like I think the more you can kind of like hone in those skills to create something in your mind's eye kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, even doodles count, dude. Honestly, even doodles count. It doesn't need to be like a masterpiece while you're like sobbing. even coloring, or just like taking markers and doing scribbles. Like one of my favorite activities to do when I'm feeling kind of stuck in like one art journal is just like taking different colors and just like making marks on the page. Like just start with one color, start with one mark or one scribble, and just see where your intuition leads, you know? Anyway, I've been rambling for 17 minutes, so I'm gonna have to edit this voice clip down. But yeah, your emotions are not an obstacle to creativity. They are a pathway. And so if you get anything out of this video, I just encourage you, when you're feeling stuck and you don't know where to turn, pick up a pen or a marker or a writing tool or a crayon or whatever you like, and get a piece of paper and just connect the pen to page and see where the pen takes you. Yeah, it won't lead you wrong, I promise. So yeah, anyway, maybe I shouldn't make promises on the internet because I don't know what y'all be writing, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, so if you're feeling tender right now. This is your sign to make something anyway and just have that connection with yourself. And if you don't want to share it, you don't have to share it, but it's for you. That's all I have for right now. So I will check in with you on Sunday. There should be another vlog up. If you like this video, hit that like button so that I can make more of them and I know what you like, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.